Priscilla Perkins, and I'm going to talk to you today about the Circle Back Strategy, a training program for Writing Center staff. As one part of the Student Success Center's Learning Commons, the university's Writing Center wants to increase their numbers of return customers each semester. Like instructors, they have a stake in the improvement of student writing, and they have a stake in better communication with writing program instructors. Both the leaders and the employees in the Learning Commons would like to change the university culture around tutoring by partnering with instructors to encourage students to make multiple visits. In short, the Writing Center needs to increase its impact by building stronger connections to their student users and the faculty who teach writing-focused courses. In response to the Writing Center's request for training, I've conducted an initial needs analysis based on informal conversations with stakeholders, suggesting that Writing Center tutors should work to balance respectful attention to student self-defined learning goals with more directive attention to course learning objectives as determined by the undergraduate writing program director and the composition committee. The program also needs an evaluation protocol so that they know how much this training contributes to the goals they've outlined. Keeping in mind Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, I believe they can use job aids and evaluative checklists created as part of this training program to collect both level 3 information about program tutors development and level 4 data about the programmatic effectiveness of the training effort. For improving learning-focused student services, trainers need the following soft skills and capabilities: communication, decision-making, cultural awareness, and inclusion. Helpful professional capabilities include awareness of different learning theories, instructional design, training, delivery, and facilitation, coaching, and evaluating impact. I have a 35-year history as a teacher, administrator, and maybe most important, a very curious lifelong learner. My skill set makes me a good choice for conducting the training that Writing Center staff need. To design the program, I'd use the SAM, or Successive Approximations model, developed by Michael Allen. I'd ask questions like, what works well and not so well in the current tutoring model? And from the perspectives of both the student and the tutor. To what extent can tutors create needed changes themselves with support from trainers, directors, and job aids, which I'll discuss later? Developing the training would involve the Writing Center director, the Writing Program director, 2 current tutors, and the instructional designer, in this case, me. The instructional designer would develop a draft of the training strategy and circulate it to the working team for feedback, and then return a revised iteration for approval by the Writing Center and Writing Program directors. Finally, I'd ask the stakeholders a question adapted from Michael Allen. Why shouldn't we try the proposal I'm outlining, which is based on the information you've provided me with so far? Once these stakeholders were on board, I would turn my attention to the trainees, who I'll call tutors throughout the rest of the presentation. The approach I take to working with young adults starts with cognitive theory, in particular, linking new information and practices to what they already know and do, and organizing what they need to learn into objectives that they'll be able to carry with them in the form of job aids. I also believe in experiential learning and constructivism, here using case studies and a role-playing activity so that tutors can see possible consequences of specific learning interventions. In this design, I'm using a couple of well-established ways of articulating how trainees should learn for maximum improvement. With the help of Bloom's updated learning taxonomy, I suggest that the tutor's learning needs to happen at the following 3 levels: understanding, applying, and evaluating. I also use the ABCD format for creating learning objectives, which focuses on the audience of learners, the behaviors to be learned, the conditions under which these behaviors can be demonstrated, and the degree to which learners need to be able to carry out these desired behaviors. For example, the tutor will coach a student to achieve their goals for improving a writing draft, given the teacher's assignment prompt and session checklist, with the aim of addressing one major writing issue during the session. I propose a flipped structure for the training. Oh, there we go. 2 weeks before the Zoom-based training session or sessions, if scheduling is a challenge, tutors need to have read a packet of information about the training, including an anonymous student draft for the tutor to sketch out how they might work with the writer's draft. They'd also email a one-page survey focusing on how knowledge of writing program learning objectives would shape how they work with each student's draft in a 50-minute tutoring session. The training event I propose is 2 hours and 15 minutes and would be divided into 4 parts, each alternating between large and small group tasks. This first part of the training would include a 10-minute discussion of the main training goals to improve students' perception of the value of tutoring sessions so that they return for additional work with a tutor and ultimately make more progress on learning outcomes. We'd spend 20 minutes discussing the sample student work I sent them, focusing on the challenge of balancing tutors' responses to the students' perception of the help they need with the students' awareness of so-called higher order skills that also contribute to students' success as college writers. The next part would start with a 20-minute 3-person role-playing exercise in breakout groups. Each tutor would play the role of a student with a fresh draft, a tutor, or a tutoring coach, and we'd aim for each participant to play 2 of those roles during the 20 minutes. The tutoring coach's feedback would focus first on how the tutor listened and asked questions about the student's learning goals, and second, on how the tutor used their understanding of English 101 or 102 learning outcomes to address those goals. We'd take 15 minutes for breakout groups to debrief with the larger group, followed by a 10-minute break. After the break, we'd start a 20-minute activity introducing what I call circle back scenarios, personalized tutoring referrals that instructors can fill out online to encourage multiple visits to the Writing Center. These web forms automatically go to the student and the Writing Center, but also into a folder on the instructor's Blackboard site. 2 examples of circle back scenarios might be the kind of self-explanatory, create a writing plan, then get feedback on a draft for English 101 students, and collect data on your own process for English 102 students. Here, the writing student would bring a draft of their required annotated bibliography to the first visit. Between visits, they'd time how long it took to get them from their annotated bibliography to a full draft of their English 102 researched essay. Both exercises increase awareness on students' parts that good writing doesn't happen at the last minute. Breakout groups of tutors then type up a quick and dirty draft of one more circle back scenario that they think would work. We take 10 minutes to share what groups came up with. The last segment of the training would be a 15-minute discussion of tutors' data collection practices and how they can improve the effectiveness of tutoring. Writing 3 or 4 reflective sentences in the Writing Center log, while useful for the tutor's development, it doesn't produce reliable information about the benefits of tutoring for the tutor, for the students, or for their instructors. At this point in the training, I'd share a draft of a possible post-session checklist which would use a web-based form to improve tutor communication with students and instructors. I'd ask for tutor feedback to incorporate into the checklist's next iteration. We'd finish the training with 15 minutes of Q&A or catch-up time, plus a 5-question Likert scale evaluation survey for tutors. As a seasoned writing instructor myself, I understand that strong writing is central not just to our students' advancement, but to the success of the university and the communities into which our graduates emerge. Giving tutors and teachers what they need to accompany students along their learning journey, in other words, encouraging students to see the Writing Center as a lane on the road rather than a toll booth, is a worthwhile investment of time and resources. I'm eager to get to work with you. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.